Hi, welcome back to FutureFast. And this is once again we have Girish Batra with us. And any of you who have missed out on uh, hearing his journey, I urge you to look it up. And today we are on with his journey with uh, Sarthy, and we will know what is Sarthy and what is he doing exactly here. And quick introduction to Girish. Apart from urging you to listen to the previous conversation, where you will hear his complete journey. He is an entrepreneur who works with entrepreneurs. He is also an angel investor, and also is an author. So I also urge you to look up the book where it primarily captures his corporate journey, but it's exciting journey, and which if you listen to his journey, you will be prompted to, or you'll be encouraged to look up the book as well. So with that, that is Girish for you, and once again for the newly initiated Future Fast is a forum or a platform where we bring or invite people who are working on things that are potentially changing the future, and also try to get their perspective on the future. So, having said that, enjoy the ride. And Girish, what is Sarthi?
Yeah, so Sarthi is a one of the kind organization, maybe the only organization in the world, which makes startups fundable and funds investable startups.
So you work with the startups and you also fund the startups. So
Right.
how is it different from an accelerator, if you?
Yeah, so I ran an accelerator before we formed Sarthi. And I realized that accelerator starts with the right mission, that X to 10X or putting the organization on a scale path. But when you scale something which is having a weak foundation, then it may turn into a multiple funding round because of the founders or because of what they are doing. But after a point, they realize that what they created, the world didn't want, or they were not able to make money from the money already invested. So the key reasons for startup failure. CB Insights has done a research of almost 111 failed startups, and almost 43% startups failed because of no market need. What they created, the world didn't want. Some 30% startups failed because of ran out of cash. So they were investing money continuously, but they were not able to get returns from the value they had created for their customers. So we are trying to address this core reason of first checking whether the startup is fundable or not using our strategy frameworks. And if they are fundable, giving them access to fundable. If they're not fundable, we tell them what are the 3 or 4 things you have to work to become fundable using, again, a Minds program or even Minds advisory. We guide them what they have to do to become fundable very early in the game.
So how did you get started with Sarthi?
Actually, it was an accident. I was a strategy skeptic in 2017, and Sumit Singh and I were together in 91 Spring Road, execution leader, grew up to CEO, and I meet quite a few folks, corporate folks, similar to me, who are skeptics about strategy. Even the book, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, talks about 90% of strategy decisions are technically not strategy decisions. They are supposedly strategy decisions, but they are not, and therefore they lead to failure, even in Fortune 500 companies. So strategy is a very misused or understood term, if I may say. And Sumit Singh, who's my advisor also now for Sarthi, is the one who kind of exposed me to the power of strategy and how it can make startups fundable. Fundable in underscore that fundable and successful even for investors. So, and how do we work on the foundation first and then work on the scale and funding journey? So accelerator works only on the scale journey. In Sarthi, we work on the foundation first.
So what kind of startups come to you? What stage do they come to you, or what stage do you accept them?
So startups who are up to, say, Series A, Series B funding come to us. 80% come for mainly the funding and a little of mentoring, if I may use the word. Very few come for the strategy piece. That means I understand I have gaps and help me fill in those gaps so that I become fundable. So that's what they learn in the journey, that are they fundable or not. Like we have a Minds program called Mentor Investor Network for Disruptive Startups. Cohort 8 is running currently and cohort 9 is announced. So 6 to 10 startups take that program. We start with the basics of value proposition. And value proposition has 6 elements, starting from what we call problem square. So starts with the problem. Are you solving an unsolved problem or are you solving a solved problem? I'll give you an example also. A startup came and said, I am going to do delivery in 8 minutes and therefore I want to get funding. Now, already startups are attempting to do 10 minutes, 20 minutes and burning significant cash. Will someone fund a startup who's going to do delivery in 8 minutes? So that's where he got that insight that maybe I'm solving a solved problem or I am late with a solution which someone else has already got. So these kind of startups come in. See, if they would have not come to Sarthy, they would have built the tech, built a team, spent maybe a few crores, and then realized they built something which the world did not want. So Sarthy helps them give that insight. Am I building something which the world wants? Starting with a problem. Am I solving an unsolved problem? Then we go to the customer. Now here also we get startup was saying, I'm built this and I want to sell it to B2B also, B2C also. Now, every channel you add, you'd have to know the channel first to kind of sell it to that channel. So that's where we encourage startups, choose a particular TG to start with. Don't rush into going to multiple TGs because every TG you want to address to, you spend money on outreach to reach that TG. So that's the second, like how well do they know their customer? And that's where, if I speak about my Milgaya journey, which I spoke in the previous episode, I didn't know my customer well, but I still built a product and went with that passion that my experience and my MBA degree will help me solve an unsolved problem in an unknown domain. Today, retrospectively, maybe I was in a rush to, without understanding the problem, without understanding the TG, I had built the product and solution, or we had built the product and solution together. So that's the second aspect in that problem square. Problem, the customer is around those that. Third is the solution. Now, where are you on that solution? And we recommend startups to start on the MVP mode only. Don't spend. I spent 15 crores on technology in Milgaya before even the door was open to customers. Now, I've got to easily build that tech in sync with the customer. While build a little bit of tech, then show it to the customer, build a little bit of tech, then show it to the customer. So this piece again was missing in what I did and what I recommend startups to do and through the Minds program. The solution should be MVP only. Today, the good news is there are good amount of low code, no code solutions where people can build tech with very little money. You don't need to have a tech core or a tech partner and spend big money and then realize what you build no one is using. So that's the third piece of the solution in that problem square. The fourth is validation. So what you build is the folks using whom you build it for. So if you build some product, how many folks are using and are they liking it? Are they loving it? People use product market fit quite actively, and I attended the talk of Mr. Rajan Anandan, and he said, ask this question to your customers, that if I shut down tomorrow, what happens to your life? And if the answer is, oh, my world will change, or I'll cry, or I'll feel very sad, then only you got late product market fit. Otherwise, you are in the middle of product market fit. So we use that product market fit, and I can think of maximum 8-10 startups who, if they disappear tomorrow, I'll be sad at least as a customer of those startups. So that's the main power of product market fit. People use it quite loosely. I've got new product market fit. So that's what the validation piece comes in that fourth square. Problem square, yeah, solution, your TG, your validation, and then finally the value proposition statement. All this marries into the VP statement where the problem, customer,
So
validation.
effectively, it's good for a startup at an idea stage to come to you then.
No, actually, idea stage is too early where you're not even married to the problem or the. So we've got startups at, I'll say, early revenues. Up to say 5 lakh revenue, even a startup, D2C startup joined this program with almost 1 crore plus ARR. So we get these different stage startups. Mostly they've done a friends family round. Rarely they've also got an angel round who come in. That's the outer limit. But we want post idea stage because unless you have an MVP to show, unless you have some product or solution to show, how will it be evaluated? So we encourage startups to build the MVP or the POC first and then join this program.
Okay. And how is the process? How do they come? How do you pick? I mean, do you work with other startup ecosystems and tap into their incubated companies? What do you look at for a funnel?
Yeah, so I just share my screen. So we have this 5-minute test on our website, which is the first starting point. And this test is quite popular in the startup ecosystem. This is our starting point. We encourage folks to take this test. It's a 5-minute test only. It's a scroller where we check how many founders, and it also guides you like the number of founders, count part-time founders as 0.25. How well do you know the problem? Domain experience of the founders, startup experience. Because otherwise, as I said, Milge, I did it the corporate way. Hired teams, built an office, and then spent 9 months with zero revenues. So that startup experience teaches you to be lean. How can you do the same early stage journey in a lean cash conserving mode? Then the market size. So investors love large market size. So how big is the market size of the problem you're solving? Then what stage are you in terms of MVP? So ideally, you should have something to show, as I said, before you go to the next stage of validating it or feeling that. And of course, if you've got a commercially launched product, then it's 5. And startups also with commercially launched products do the MINDS program because they believe that they've still not cracked the funding piece. Something is missing. So that missing piece they come and find through our frameworks. And then if the experimental quotient is the next question. The differentiation quotient is the next question. So the VCs or the investors will not invest into Me Too's. So what if why high the edtech is already so overcrowded? So VCs or investors do not like to invest into Me Too's. They want to see a differentiated product, which is that change bit which I told you. Then I enjoy being a change seeker. And whoever has the next level idea, so gamified edtech is the next level idea. There's a startup who's working on building that, the gamified edtech piece. Then the traction piece. So again, investors don't like to invest in pre-revenue or very early stage until the idea is very unique or it's got a good amount of investment required to reach the product stage. And then the product market fit question, which I explained you what is the meaning of product market fit also. And the last is the runway question. So this is the first touch point which we invite startups to take. And of course, we've got ecosystem partners, we've got other partners. In a day today, around 2 startups take this test. So that's our first touch point. After the test, one of the partners will take a 15-minute call with the startup to reassess whether is he or she ready for funding straight or is he early in that journey of the POC MVP. And then if he or she is early, we guide them, this is what you do, or apply for the MINDS program where you get more validation over 40 days. Startups who are ready, we do a 2-week detailed deep dive using our frameworks again to again check for gaps. See, we believe if there are critical gaps, fix those gaps, then access investors. Your probability of success improves. If there are no critical gaps, we'll give you access to investors straight. So that's our path for investment ready startups. For startups who are not ready for investment, as I said, if they are very early idea stage, we recommend them at least build something. At least be clear that the problem is, you're married to the problem, you're married to some sort of POC which you build, which will solve that problem. Yeah, you can pivot around that POC, but at least you're married to that space you want to solve the problem for. Because there was a startup who was doing SaaS for the early stage, the product development game in biotech. He pivoted to a B2C healthcare platform after a year and a half. So when you are not married to the problem or not married to, you pivot far away. Instead of pivoting close, you pivot far away. So then it's all waste of energy and waste of money also in that early stage game. In the MINDS program, there is a dedicated mentor investor. So every new cohort has a new set of mentor investors who kind of play your sounding board. Where do you have the right answers to the questions which we are raising?
So how do you select startups for that program? Is it somebody who just registers for them, pays for it, or is it that they need to qualify post they fill up the form and only then you send an invite? And
so after this 5-minute test, if someone is not ready for funding, we recommend them that there's this program which will help you become fundable. And that's through the funnel, they fill the form, the MINDS form. Now in the MINDS form, there's a base camp and champions. So base camp, normally 8 out of 10 startups get selected. As I said, only idea stage startups, part-time founders, these are reasons we may not select for the base camp. But otherwise, we'll select 8 out of 10 for startups for the base camp. On the 40th day of the base camp, after we administered our frameworks, did 2 rounds of understanding whether his problem understanding is good, his TG is clear, his solution is validated. We'll get that validation and then make them pitch in front of real angel investors and mentor investors. That time we select champions where we are 50% plus confident that we'll be funding the startup, and the mentor investors kind of saying, I'll be happy to cut the first check and be the lead investor, and then handhold them up to funding from Sarthy Angels, our own angel network, partner angel networks, micro VCs, family offices. We handhold them in that entire funding journey. But we get that confidence first and we be the first investors also. So that gives confidence to the entire chain. The mentor investors is the first, followed by the angel investors, followed by third-party investors.
And how many startups? You said you are in some number I didn't register. The cohort currently
Around
16.
650 startups have taken this 5-minute test.
Wow.
Around 58 startups have done the Minds program up to cohort 8. Cohort 9 should be announced in the coming week.
So what
And
is the size of a typical cohort?
6 to 10 startups per cohort, 1 to 2 new venture investors in each cohort. And 9 startups have got funded through Sarthy Angels and partners.
And what domain, what sectors are these startups in?
See, the power of strategy is sector agnostic. So we've got D2C startups, we've got EdTech startups, we've got SaaS HR tech startups. So we've got startups across domains which have got funded or which are a part of the program. And rarely there are deep tech startups who need significant investment in, say, biotech or somewhere. They need crores to commercialize. That they get incubated long term, they get grants also from government to come closer to commercialization, and then maybe startups can support. That's what very rare. But otherwise, you'll be able to support all different domain startups.
Well, what's your favorite now? You want to talk about any of the startups, which is?
Yeah, so there's a startup who's kind of built a solution to control air conditioning virtually. And not only that, he's built an AI around that air conditioning. So the AI helps to save up to 40% power without significantly impacting the comfort for folks in the room. So he's got banks as customers, say ATMs. So that's the one. I feel it's a world-beating innovation made in India. And I used it even in my TED talk. So that's one startup which has really impressed me.
What you want to name them?
Yeah, it's called Living Things.
Okay. And they were your cohort 1?
No, they were directly VIP startup.
Okay. So what are these VIP startups?
Sorry?
So what is VIP startup?
Yeah, so VIP is someone who we assessed and who's directly ready for funding.
Okay.
They're ready for funding for the next level straight. Minds is where they are going through the program and then they get ready for funding.
So you fund as well as you get investors.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many VIP funds funded VIP startups?
VIP out of the 9 I told you, VIP is 7 and 2 is Minds.
Oh wow. Okay. So what was your first investment?
Yeah, my first investment was in an EdTech company. It was a language training company, basically English speaking for Bharat.
And what was your biggest takeaway from investing on that?
Yeah, so
as an investor now.
So the problem they were solving is big. Yeah, it's a big problem and it's an impact space, so to say. So many people would like this problem solved using technology. So that was my first attraction. And the founders were seasoned founders who kind of done this for quite some time. This is a Minds startup. And they were seasoned founders who've been in this space for quite some time. They built a nice professional team. And again, they've built a process for English speaking in bite size instead of a long course, and with a community to top it. So you have a community to practice and then hone your skills after learning it through the solution. So that was my first investment.
No, I meant as an investor, what do you think you would have done differently today? I mean, after having and
so
also going through.
I'm an emotional investor. So if I like an idea or a product, I'm not a data. So and it's the stage. If it's at the right stage with the right founder leading it, with the right market, then I'm an emotional investor, to be frank. Not a very too much of balance sheet or future financial forecast projections review and then decide.
So what's your biggest fear in this whole startup ecosystem thing, the way things are changing?
So again, I'll share a slide. In fact, I was in IIT Delhi last week and I did a presentation, and I believe that it's an era shift for startups. And if startups don't understand this era shift, then they might miss the bus. So there's a pre-era, and actually 2022, 2023, the funding winter, some investors still believe it's not an era shift, it's a winter which will be followed by summer. I believe it's an era shift, and unless people understand this, it'll be tough for them to ride the new tiger, which is on the right side. So the pre-era, we know it's a high cash burn to achieve monopolistic positions. PhonePe is raising money even today after 10 years of existence at a $12 billion valuation and still burning cash. People IPO'd while burning cash, but the analysts are asking them the right questions. Boss, we are here for returns. Because on LinkedIn, there was a post where someone said, was finally the core objective of our organization is to make money for shareholders. But if you have to remind us that core objective as startups, then it's really, we've really hit in the low. That we have to be reminded that that's the core objective of an enterprise, forget startup, to make money for shareholders. Yeah. And then I was with a consultant and he mentioned that he had dabbled in the startup ecosystem, and he said, the culture didn't match because of the shoot ready aim, which they do. Now you can do shoot ready aim when you have a lot of bullets, but today those bullets are getting less and less. So nobody is ready to fund 100 million plus easily. Then the principal agent problem, which has led to scams, Go Mechanic being the latest scam where they had fudged the invoices, they had built shell companies, and they were a top 4 audited company funded by Sequoia. So if it can happen there, where else it cannot happen is the question which as an investor I'm worried on, right? So what if I'm a small angel investor? And then it enriched smart promoters and early backers. The biggest losers were late stage investors like SoftBank and Tiger. And the late stage hyper-consumption is false. So we are seeing Nykaa, we are seeing all these IPO companies that they've hit the lows, double digit to a high single digit growth after they've kind of reduced marketing spend. Because if you have to reduce cash burn, the first cut you'll do is on marketing spend. And it's a vicious downward spiral. So Byju's did one round of manpower cut. They're doing another round of manpower cut. So it's a negative spiral you are into while you have to be on that growth trajectory. So this is going to change to the post era where DD is going to be big even for angel investment of say some 1 crore. People are going to do a detailed DD like SoftBank did for Go Mechanic. They did an 8-month DD using Ernst & Young. And that's what the fraud was exposed of fake invoices. And people are going to ask you about your competitive advantage. How big is the moat you've created? So ShareChat has 300 crore turnover, 3,000 crore loss. And their employees, ex-employees are saying that there's no big moat we are creating. Because what ShareChat is doing, so many others are also doing on their platforms. So their customer lifetime value to the CAC is kind of at a precarious position. Like if they reduce the customer acquisition, then the lifetime cost also gets impacted. So this is the moat which early stage investors will also ask for. What are you building with the money you've already spent and you'll build later? And this quote came from 40-year-old Infosys founders, where they said that when they build the organization, they built it with the objective that they want to earn respect of all stakeholders. So that's what we as investors and enablers want. Which are the founders in this game who want to build organizations which can earn respect from all stakeholders? And we will search, and there will be. There will be. They might be sitting in Gorakhpur, they might be sitting in a small town, but there are folks who. And then the frugality, respect for capital. There was a Decathlon founder who didn't venture eyelid booking a charter flight to the US when his company is in a loss. So these type of founders will get extinct today or tomorrow because they don't understand the difference between investor money and customer money. Customer money, you can give 100 crore salary like Zerodha, but investor money, you have to be frugal. Yeah, that's what this new era is going to shift to. And VCs are sitting on $300 billion of dry powder. So this is what I kind of shared with in my IIT talk also, quite well accepted from the startup community. They want to build sustainable unicorns. That's what the word I'm using wherever I'm going. That build sustainable unicorns which the world is proud of. What is this funding game we are playing? And there's loss as a ecosystem. It's a big loss because finally, if SoftBank is losing, SoftBank will reduce investment in India. If Tiger is losing, they'll reduce investment in India. So we have to ensure that everybody wins in this game.
You've been part of incubation centers in colleges, like you said earlier. You initially started. See now, the size and scale of India is that we need a lot more collaborative effort happening across ecosystems. We can't have things happening in isolation. So how do you see these ecosystem players coming together to strengthen this aspect? Because see, one is that there is capital also made available. Because see, obviously, a lot of things that you spoke, other side of the coin is that money is being made so easily available that a lot of these things have also happened, and governance has faltered, and uh, so it has led to some kind of a spiral.
Mhm.
But obviously, with a lot of these things coming out, glaring, and also market itself is tightening.
Mhm.
So, given that we are getting into some sense of a contracted market from an investment point of view, at least,
Mhm.
though there is still a lot of capital available, but somewhere it is contracting.
True.
So, how do you see ecosystems responding to it?
See, uh, I see the existing ecosystem struggling to adapt. And India is again a classic case study where the government has funded so many ecosystems, institutions, but they've not been able to produce results. And government is asking results also. Of course, I give you a DST grant and you funded 20 startups. Where are they? And when they are asking questions and they are getting answers, they are not happy that this
So,
will not
where do
be.
you think they're going wrong?
First of all, we did the bureaucratic way. We didn't do it the smart way like Israel, where Israel funded fund of funds. They didn't fund the startups directly. So they said if the investor, if a Sequoia gives you, say, $1 million, I'll give you $500,000. Give me equity in this game. So they funded the fund of fund instead of the startups directly. So we left it to bureaucrats or people who are running these institutions to fund this. And the collaboration piece, someone said in one of the Thai talks I attended that we Indians can't collaborate. So that's our negative. But at times when we are forced to collaborate, we will collaborate, but still only 2 on 10 on the collaboration we've been able to achieve till date. Yeah, if we learn from this, if we are in a tight spot and we are forced to collaborate, maybe time will tell. But we Indians are poor collaborators. That's a reality which is there.
Yeah, there was another conversation I was having with Varad, you probably know.
Yeah.
So he was talking about pretty much the same thing, and he was saying that we Indians are brought up in a very competitive spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very easy for us to compete
Mm.
versus collaborate.
True.
So we really need to unlearn a lot
True.
to be able to collaborate, because first thing intuitively that comes to us is to compete with
True.
rather than collaborate with. So those of you who have missed out, I urge you to look up podcast with Varad and do give it listen into that very interesting conversation. So while there are people like Varad also working on how do we bring about a larger innovation, and particularly one area where someone like you, having spent years in the corporate and then having moved here, how do you see bridging these two, right? One is that you also worked with Lala's, right? So the family businesses, and you've also worked with the corporate. So how do you see, or do you see, not how, do you see there will come a point where all these things will come together in strengthening our startup ecosystem, even from a point of access to capital, even from a point of collaboration, even from a point of access to market, because these guys have all those access. So do you see that somewhere you see these things will come together, and someone like you will possibly make it much easy to bring them together? Do you see people are thinking in that direction?
So the US corporations caught it early. They realized that if you don't want to be disrupted, then be with the disruptor. So SAP and all of these set up these incubation centers inside or accelerators inside where they gave even full salary to the employees and said, you work on idea. Okay, once the idea matures, it becomes a big company, we will have a significant stake in that game. The Indian entrepreneurs are in the last 3 years also understanding that they might be disrupted. So Birla is buying 10 D2C companies and buying majority stake in them. It's not even minority stake because he doesn't want to be disrupted by D2C, so to say. So this right win-win will fall in place. You don't need to plan for it in a major way. Yeah, corporates are happy customers for startups. They also like to use new solutions. People are aware of the new solutions, be it AI, be it ChatGPT, which are coming in and how they can be using. Because see, the world is more VUCA. Nobody is going to. So when you have a more VUCA world, your S curves are going to shrink, the transition curves. Like China is running 32% vehicles on hybrid and EV. India is maybe 2%. But when India becomes China is anybody's guess. Yeah, it may be 2 years, it may be 5 years, but it will surely become China. If China has 32% EV and it's a big auto market, then so will India. But what shape it will take? Will it be hybrid plus EV or it will be only EV? So all this is the question which, if I am a Mahindra or I am a Indian auto manufacturer, is worrying. So therefore, you have to be a part. So therefore, a Tata and Reliance is funding Blue Smart in Delhi, who's running EV taxis. So they are there with their skin in the game in quite a few of these projects. And of course, we as people on both sides are able to play a catalyst role for this. It's not a planned role; it's a catalyst role only because it's meeting both sides' needs. They also don't want to be disrupted, and these people also need their experience and money both, the startups. So that's where I see it all going. Happy to see that more and more people are enjoying this game instead of it being a side game. More and more people are coming and enjoying this game. The
Do
startup
you
game.
want to give a shout out to somebody who you think are doing a great job in the startup ecosystem in India?
Yeah, so I've been to IIT Mumbai, I've been to IIT Delhi, and IIT Kanpur also incubation center we have a association with. So more and more, these people were the forerunners, and which kind of led to the Atal incubation centers, even in other MBA colleges, and which Pilani has allowed their students to take a 1 year break also on their MBA if they want to work on it. So all these are wonderful institutions who I believe are aiding the startup need of their students or of even outsiders to some extent. And they've built lovely support systems inside for be it their ex-IITian community. So it's easy to get a investment from your alumni or from people who know, like the one startup we are working with called NanoClean. He's built a NASO filter for pollution. And in fact, he's also got this filter for cigarettes where he will remove the tar from, this is the filter he's created, which removes tar from your cigarette smoke. This is the filter he's created. So this is the kind of startups which come out of IITs, which are looking at deep tech to change the world, be it the pollution or be it. And it's all the IIT backbone which led to these kind of innovations seeing the sight of the day, the light of the day.
Well, how far do you think? See, so far, I think back in 2018, there was some effort I was doing in the startup ecosystem. So I was putting together a report, and what I found that the amount of startup pitches for funding and grants all together, leading to anything, right? Any amount of funding or grant, the total number of pitching events that happened in Bangalore was in excess of some 250, 260. And it was more than all the activities happened anywhere else in India put together, right? Everything together, Chennai, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Delhi, or NCR, Pune, all ecosystems put together, it was less than what was happening in Bangalore. So, of course, today with the government of India opening up the Startup India effort to, which is what you also earlier mentioned, that right, it obviously you don't think it is helping in bringing out a good effort because the money is not spent effectively, though the intent is there.
True.
The way it is being done is, I think that's what, right, is what you meant.
That's what I meant, yeah.
So please, if you think I'm trying to put words, stop me there.
No, I'm
So,
with you. Yeah.
so given that, and where Bangalore organically evolved, so how far do you think? How long do you think this status will change? We already have unicorns coming out of everywhere, but this aspect of even today, I hear people coming from everywhere to set up shop in Bangalore. We've had there was a very senior gentleman who was running a. I don't want to name the state now. He was heading a state startup initiative, and he was telling me that, see, I really don't care. Let the startup operate out of Bangalore. All we care is they come to my state, register here, and That's it. They can go back. Let them come once a quarter, present a status report on what they're doing, and continue doing their business out of Bangalore. They
Right.
just wanted statistics to show that this is the activity that's happening. So, a lot of static activities also being driven in the whole process. So, this is a whole mad rush of government trying to
True.
influence the startup play. And obviously, the conversation you brought in terms of the approach to having excess capital and the greed and
True.
lack of discipline. So, where are we headed? Do you think India will be a global leader of sorts? I mean, will Bangalore ever be the Silicon Valley of the world? I mean, get beyond India or no? What do you think?
So, if you look at the billionaires across the world, I think 2 out of 3 billionaires are self-made, and the top 10 has more than five who are technology billionaires. They became billionaires because of their tech innovation. Whereas in India, if you look at it, our billionaires are more brick and mortar business billionaires. They build brick and mortar businesses versus tech innovations, and they are first degree or second degree billionaires. So again, it's giving us that signal that the next 15, 20 years, we'll see tech billionaires emerge from India who will tech or innovation billionaires. I'm putting both in the same boat, tech and innovation billionaires like a Zerodha who's taking 100 crore salary. Each of the founders are taking 100 crore salary. There'll be more such tech and innovation billionaires who will be made from India, and they'll lead the pack even in India. Now, where do they come from? See, COVID has taught us that wherever you are, you can innovate. Ecosystem is like in our program also, more than half the startups are from outside Bangalore. Half are still from Bangalore but it's changing. You've got startups from Gorakhpur, you've got startups from Jaipur, Surat, and people realize wherever they are able to take support from across, be it India or international. So that's the support system which COVID has taught us actually, that you can win from anywhere. You don't need to be physically present to, of course, pre-COVID, you needed this infrastructure, you needed the support system and physical, but COVID has taught us that you can access it from anywhere. So I'm seeing that the dominance of Bangalore will only shrink because that's the natural progression, that you'll get more startups. And it will be evenly divided across the country versus 1 or 2 cities leading the pack. And the next era is India's era. 1 in 5 population of the world is Indians. We've got a lovely English education to back us. We've got technology at our hand. The latest technology, be it ChatGPT, be it everything is at our fingers to play around with and build the next innovation, be it Google or be it whatever the next Facebook is. Equally possible from India as anywhere across the world today because of the flattening of the world, or flattening the technology is actually flattened the world and given equal access to everyone. So I'm
So
predicting
you're
that
far more optimistic about India.
yeah, it is an India era going forward. I'm supporting that because of these reasons I've given you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Girish. And uh, do you want to indicate few names that people should follow as startup founders? Because you did mention, you did talk about it. So do you want to, or who are the guys you follow? Who are the entrepreneurs who you follow and you talk about to your startups that, listen, look up these guys? And when I say guys, I'm gender neutral. So if anybody has concern about it, please mind you, it's a gender neutral statement.
Yeah, so 3 people I will mention in the startup world, although they are not always giving gyan. I'm sort of proud of what they've achieved. Sridhar Vembu of Zoho, the Kamath brothers, Nikhil and his brother of Zerodha, and Physics Wala founder, I'm just forgetting his name. These are 3 people I believe will do wonders in building sustainable concept. They've already done wonders in what they've done.
Wonderful. Thank you. These are great recommendations and also very grounded people with clarity of thought and clarity of purpose above also. Uh, so clearly, I think not just Indians, I think world over people are following them now. So
Again, if
wonderful.
international is given, Eric Smith. I read his book, How Google Works. And in the last paragraph, he mentioned that somewhere across the world in some garage, a new innovation is going to be born, which is going to make Google obsolete. And he's reading this book to build that innovation, and we are okay with it. So what's the, just imagine a stage when he's writing that paragraph, that somewhere someone in a garage is building an innovation which will make Google obsolete. And he's reading this book to get ideas to build that innovation, and we are okay with it. So that's our, even if we've created something big, it's our job to train the next generation to build something which makes us also obsolete. That's our responsibility to the next generation.
Fantastic. With that, thank you so much, Girish, and uh, listeners. I'm sure you have any questions. We will also have Girish's social handle shared with, public handle shared with below the podcast. So please feel free to reach out to him. I think you prefer LinkedIn,
Yes,
Twitter.
sir.
What would you prefer? LinkedIn.
Yes.
So please give a shout, reach out, ask, and also other links even to Sarthy will be shared. And uh, uh, and also those uh, links to that form. I think it's all will be there
Yes.
within the Sarthi. Take it, just check where you stand. How fundable are you? It will be interesting for you to know yourself where you stand, and then you can always reach out and take it forward. Thank you, and if you like it, please feel free to share it among your friends, the founders who are running. They will find this conversation with Girish very interesting as well. Thank you so much and keep coming back to Future Fast. Girish,
Thank you,
thank you
Rajita.
once
Thank you
again.
for having me. Thanks. Bye.